was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking. The kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram. But these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs, and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out. To me, the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? How do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is, I don't know. What I do know is that talent doesn't make you gritty. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. In fact, in our data, grit is usually unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail, because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. And that's where I'm going to end my remarks, because that's where we are. That's before us. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned. In other words, we need to be gritty about getting our kids grittier. Thank you.
All right. So from the short clip, I believe most of us must have gotten what an idea of what grit is about. So we'll start by defining grit. So what is grit? Grit is a personal perseverance through a situation. Like, let me just give you an example. For example, you have a task that you need to perform, and you've even tried it, and you failed. Grit is what tells you within you, try again. Try again. That's what grit is about. And there was once we discussed about children who were struggling amongst us, even when we had introduced the online schooling, one-on-one, booster class, and there was a feedback I got from most of us. They said those that even need these programs are not interested. Neither them nor their parents. And our question was, how do we get these ones who really need it? If you watch your booster class, if you leave it open, it's your high flyers that will be the first to be there. True or false? Those that are struggling, you see them, that they come late, they give you excuses, they leave themselves 1 million times. And that's what she's talking about. Those children are not motivated. And that's why we came to this. We were searching, what can we do to solve this problem? Because we need these children to advance. We need these children to, in fact, some of us have gotten tired. Like not too long ago, a special child was put in the class, and usually I go and check, how is this child doing, how is this child doing? I was always disappointed at the feedback I got, which is not the Leora spirit. And I asked the teacher the last time, how is this child? He said, you know, this child is this child, it's special, so nothing changed. Wow. For a whole time, and you're proud to open your mouth and say, nothing changed. Then you shouldn't be teaching, you shouldn't be here. So, today I'm not going to be talking about developing grit in those children. That's what your supervisors will be doing. They've been doing a lot of research, tinkering and trying to see how they can introduce factors that you would implement to help develop grit in those children, perseverance in those children, those ones that are not ready to learn, who are not interested in learning. One thing beautiful about the Montessori curriculum or the Montessori system of teaching is that, she says, without interest, learning cannot take place. Till a person is interested in a thing, you can't get that person to do that thing. Once there is interest, then you see the person wanting to practice over and over till perfection is achieved. It's a process, but interest is number one. So if your learner is not interested, if you like scream from now till tomorrow, nothing will change. So that's what we're aiming at. So we said, what is grit? In psychology, it says grit is a positive, non-cognitive trait based on a person's perseverance of effort combined with their passion for a particular long-term goal. Like she said, it's not something short-term, it's long-term. This perseverance of effort helps people overcome obstacles or challenges to accomplish and drives people to achieve. That's by Wikipedia. So somebody just did this, says grit could be defined as give it your all, redo if necessary, ignore giving up, take time to do it right. That's what grit is. And you'll be shocked that many of us here are not gritty. Many of us here are not gritty. I'm not talking of the children now. I'm talking of us. Many of us are not gritty. Grit in education, because grit applies to every area of your life, like in your business, like you see somebody who does a business, it fails, and he just walks away. But a greedy person will do it and want to do it again and try it another way and try it another way. We'll come to that, we'll see some examples. But now we're talking of in education. He said, first of all, we define education as an indoctrination and training of the mind. Because you need to understand what you are doing first. What are you doing? When you are educating somebody, what are you doing? You're supposed to think that it ends with the child being able to write tests and pass. That's not what education is, please. If that's what you think, that it's about solving 1,000 chemistry problems or solving 1,000 mathematical problems, that person is not educated. An educated person is someone who receives training of his mind that affects his behavior. The mathematics you teach should affect the person's behavior. It's surprising, right? You wonder, what has biology got to do with changing my behavior? It changes your behavior because of the way you will react to things in your environment. Education is meant to prepare you, the student, for your environment, not just for your survival, because the number one is for survival. That's not education. For your survival and your adaptation and the change of your environment to your advantage. That is why we teach children mathematics, and we always insist here in Europe that when you teach them mathematics, teach them the application in real life. That's the real goal. Not that you know simple interest, not that you know multiplication, but when you meet it in real life, can you use what you have learned to change that thing, to make proper decisions? That is what education is. So if you're teaching because it's a skill, you're teaching because it's something that was given to you to finish, you're wrong. What you are teaching, whatever it is, must be able to impact that child's attitude. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, that when a child learns something and you're teaching another thing, the child quickly goes back to that topic. It's similar to what you. That's a change. But if the child didn't get it, he'll just be looking at you. So that's what education is about. It's preparing the child for independence and conquering his or her future. A future filled with uncertainties and challenges. You as adults, you can attest to that. Every day, in fact, waking up from your bed, dressing up and coming here was a challenge. If we let you, you lie down on your bed and sleep. There's some people are sleeping now. Please check your neighbor if he's sleeping. No. Please. Because life itself, even the Bible says, is full of challenges. Thanks to Adam and Eve. So, and we need to train these children to be able to overcome and conquer. And survival and reasonable advancement in life demands grit. It is not abnormal to fail. That's what grit says. It is not abnormal to fail. But true failure is when you give up. And that is contrary to grit. That's why you see those children. I failed last time, so what's the point? To start class, they tired. To start class the next year, you are not going to get any better. If we are true educators, then developing grit in a child is absolutely necessary for our child to be successful. If you are to be successful, like here we say promotion is based on how you're able to move the weakest child in your class forward. That is what this is all about. Our job is to teach life skills for the future. We say learning takes place when there is a change in knowledge, behavior, and understanding. And this does not happen at the same time and the same way for everyone. In fact, it is said, when you do a test from what we taught, if 25%, it was me yesterday, so if I use 50%, if 25% of your class fails, then you will not take this. Did you hear that? Yes. If I said 50, but yesterday when I was doing the research, I saw it was 25%. Which means if you have these mathematicians here, that thing, if you have 20 students, 25% is what? 5. Just 5 fail, like failure. That's what he said. Oh, you're teaching, you're wasting your time. You didn't achieve the goal. That's what the education theory says. I think that's an objective question. But when we went to school, they said 50%. I just saw yesterday 25. So, which means the game is getting tougher. Results like this are pointers to the fact that the learning is influenced by two main factors, the external factors and the internal factors. The internal factors are the ones that have to do with the children. That's their own, that's where your supervisors will come in, their own grit. And And the external factors, which is the process of teaching, you the teachers yourself, because interaction with adults and peers, you are the adults in the class. Their interaction with you, like some of us, I think the last speaker talked about some children liking a particular teacher. If you watch, most people pass that person's subject. Not because the subject is easy, but just for the fact that they like that person. In preschool, I know there's a common saying, do you like me? Are you my friend? Okay, if you're my friend, do it. And you see the children actually do it. Because there's a relationship they build with you. Some of us here, like, let me use Mr. Chisom for example. I know that children love him and they want to impress him, and you see some of them struggle. Many of us are like that, and doesn't mean you are more special, please. You know, you see children struggle, I want to impress this person. And that's why in your uniform teacher, we call you a class parent. Be that person that they want to impress. Be that one person that they want to look up to and say, I don't want her to be sad. For her sake. All these, we're just looking for factors to motivate that child that seems demotivated. So my job today is to turn the spotlight on you. How gritty are you? Are you ready to give up on that child? Like that example I gave, and the teacher said, you know, that's how she is, she's just like that. Or you want to say, there's something else I think I can do. Like Mrs. Innocent will always bother me. There's one child in my class. I don't know, this is it. She can bother me, but I love it. I love it. Why? Because she's gritty. She can never give up. Even if a child, if you are a blind child, Mrs. Innocent will want to educate that blind child. How? I don't know. But that's the spirit. And that's the only thing that can give you results. Now, we come to the philosophy of Leora. I don't need to read all this, but just a summary. Like I said before, in Leora, we don't believe that any child is empty. No matter how dull you think a child is, even a special child, we believe that there's something in that child. Let me give you a story. Maria Montessori was the only female student in this university where she went to study medicine. She applied for medicine, but she was given psychiatry. That wasn't what she applied for, but just to spite her because she was a woman. And she took it. The only woman in the whole university. She said she was bullied, but she kept at it, and she ended up becoming the best graduating student in that department. At the end of the day, when it got to time for posting, they posted her to not just the home of those that are mentally retarded, but mentally retarded children, which was at that time more difficult to work with. She took on the challenge and she went there. Other doctors, what they did was, once it's time, they give the children the pills and they fall asleep. Every day they just drop them, they fall asleep. She said no. She said there was a day the children were eating and food fell on the ground. And one of them picked it up, put it back in the plate, and ate it. Some of us may look at it differently and say, that's disgusting. Why would you do that? But she saw something different. She said, for that child to know that that food does not belong to the ground, it belongs in a plate, then there's something in this child. Do you see? Somebody else looked at it, but no, she saw something else. She saw the child picked it, put it in the plate, and she said, which is there's intellect in this child. He's retarded, but there's something in this child, and that's how she picks them. All the Montessori materials you see, she developed, a woman, she developed all of them, everything we're using, from teaching retarded children. She said there were 6 in number, and daily she was supposed to come every day, but she was not only every day, teaching them every day. It was difficult because, you know, retarded children, they beat you, they struggle with you, but she didn't give up. She kept teaching them, and she registered them for a national examination. Those 6 children picked all the normal children that took that examination. And that was how Maria became popular. Retarded. So what is our excuse? We don't take retarded children here because we don't have the capacity. It's only that some are special. But she took retarded, that is mentally retarded, and she turned them into something useful. So that's why we don't believe there's anybody who is empty. It's just that there is a key you need to unlock. Why is this child failing biology? Why is this child failing mathematics? There is something I have not unlocked. So that's what Leora is all about. a classroom. When you have a classroom with gritty children, this is the sign you see. When students fail, it actually builds their character and helps them to develop grit, a mental toughness or courage that leads to perseverance. If you have a group of children in your class that even if they fail, and they're telling you that, I don't know if you remember the last video we watched, the other training, that the child, that she told the children, said, you failed, I think it was 8, and you got 2 right. So 2 ain't bad at all. That's it. When you have a child that, even if he got 2, the last time it was 1, now it's 2. He rejoices at that. You should rejoice with him. But the natural attitude should be, what are you laughing at? What are you happy about? 2, you're not even ashamed. The last one, now 2. What is it? Are we snails? You're killing the grit that is even trying to build. So today we're trying to change our attitudes. So, grit in the classroom, we must deliberately develop our classrooms such that our children have that growth mindset she talked about. A growth mindset, saying failure is an opportunity to fail. That's why in your class, it shouldn't be that because somebody failed, you laugh at him, you make fun of him, you make jest of him. No, please. If there's any light of grit, you have killed it. That's why you now see them, well, I failed before, even if the child doesn't even believe that I can pass, so why should I believe in myself? So, growth mindset is very important, and even for us, you must have also a growth mindset yourself. Because if you don't have it, you can't give what you don't have, what you don't have. True or false? So you need to develop that kind of mindset. Now, let's look at examples of those who have grit. Yesterday night, I walked with my son and I was asking him of different gritty characters. He gave me quite a number of them, but I just selected 2, and I'll tell you why. The first person is Thomas Edison, an American inventor. He developed the incandescent light bulb. Guess how many times he tried? 2,774 times and failed. The first researcher did said 1,000. I was screaming. I said 1,000 times. By the time Google will keep showing you different things until I now saw a document that showed 2,774 times he failed at developing that light bulb. And during an interview, when he was asked, how did you feel at each failure? Till you even got to 2,000 and you kept failing. He corrected it, but he said, no, I didn't fail, but rather, I learned more than 2,000 ways that it will not work. How many times have you tried? For that child. As I'm talking, I know you, some of you, in your heads, you can picture that very child. How many times have you tried concerning that child? What were your thoughts each time you failed? Because if the child failed, that's the truth. What were your thoughts? Most of us will go for the thought that I didn't fail, the child failed. It's not my responsibility, it's the child's responsibility. What were your thoughts? It's important. Did you learn something new and change? Or try the same thing again? Which is what I see most of us do. When a child fails and we send you back, you do the same thing over again. If you're teaching a particular topic and the class failed it, you go back and teach it the same way again. We'll see why that will not work. Now, based on this, who do you think needs to be gritty at each point? Is it you or the student? Who should be the first person to be gritty? You or the student? Thank you. The next person. The next person is Jack Ma. He's a billionaire, the founder of Alibaba Holdings. Now he was from a poor home, and he wanted to go to college, which is like university, but not exactly, like an A-level program. And his parents, he had to do odd jobs to even raise money to buy the form. And the first time he wrote the test, which is like our common entrance exam, he scored 1/120. And his parents told him, school is not for you, don't bother. And what struck me was what happened next. He said he read a book that motivated him and he enrolled again. But this time, he enrolled a repeat class. and did a second attempt. The second attempt he scored 19 over 120. His parents told him, leave this thing, let's open a shop, a business for you. He still, because his business was, I think then he was pushing trucks and carrying water. He said he did more, and he got inspired again, this time by a movie. That's why sometimes you see us put movies for these children. By a movie. What was the theme of the movie? The theme was never say die. I'm sure somebody who watched it was an action movie. We just look at it and, but he saw something else in the movie. Never say die. And his minister told him, never say die. No, I'll try this thing again. And he went back again, but this time he did another thing different. Apart from studying, going for those classes, he decided to go to the library once a week. Because of his work, he could go once a week. And he made sure he memorized 10 formulas. And at the end of the day, his score went to 79, which was enough for him to get admission. Some of us may be gritty, but how do you go about your push? That's why I chose these two persons. They did something different. There's something my husband always says. He said, if you do the same thing over and over again, you can't expect a different result. But if you do the same thing in different ways, you are bound to get different results. So it's not enough to be gritty. I want this child to improve. I want this child to improve. Do this math song. Do this math song. But have you tried another way? Have you tried checking it? If I could go like this, would it change something about the child? Now, grit and me, which is you. You as a teacher, you need grit as much as that struggling child assigned to you. If you must win. You yourself, you must talk to yourself that I need to have grit, not to give up, not to stop there, not to think this is a lost case. After all, children, after all, this child doesn't have anything. After all, the last teacher told me that she tried and tried. You know, there's one language I hate in this school. I've done my best. I hate that thing. I hate it because you can never do your best. That's the truth. You can never. There is always something else you can do. Transit yourself from being an instructor to being a role model. Just like we talked about the teacher that the children like. If you, as a form teacher, as a subject teacher, if you go from just being an instructor, standing in front of the class like I'm talking to everybody, teaching, talking, you're just an instructor. That's what you are. But when you're a role model, even as you're teaching, you're not afraid to say, I didn't get this right, but I'm going to correct it. Like the question that was asked, and we had different opinions. But you know, it's really okay to say, I didn't get it right. If you remember the last video, the woman said she touched ratios all wrong, and she came back to the class and apologized. She said, I thought, and the children said, we let you get away with it. Which means they knew. So if while you're trying to prove you are the boss, the children will be like, so, you must be willing to be a role model for the children. Accept that it is possible for you to fail. You must accept it. Because sometimes when we call you and ask you, why do the children perform badly? The first thing here is the children. It's not me. Which means you refuse to accept that you have failed. Many of us are like that, including me. You will refuse, you begin to make excuses. It's the child, it's the parents, it's the homework, it's the curriculum. Like once we interviewed one man and he told us that the school curriculum where he was teaching was bad. That's why the children failed. Wow. So you must be willing to accept the fact that it is possible for you, as smart as you are, to fail. And that you can do something else to change the narrative. Hence, you must review, you must be ready to review things, do a failure assessment, and change your process because it is necessary if you must get results. Be open to correction. Even your class children, allow them, if they can correct you, it's fine. Be open to correction. Some people, when we call them, even for appraisal and we correct them, we see them frown. And when they go back, they do the same thing you told them not to do again. And when you issue them a query, they say they were working hard and you issue them a query. Please, be open to correction. Be intentional and learn something new every day. There was once we used to send teachers for training training, and somebody said, what is all this? People are just bothering somebody. One even told me, I'm a math teacher, I don't need this. I'm an English teacher, I don't need this. Wow. Do you know that even the biology that is being taught by somebody else, the integrated science that is being taught by somebody else, you could learn something from it that will enhance what you are doing, even in your personal life. So be ready to learn every day. There's this book that talks about, is it the world's richest men or so? And at the end of the book, what was the secret? He said the world's richest men, that about 80% of them read 90% of the time. They read 90% of the time. Informing yourself helps you. The Bible says, by a house, that by wisdom, a house is built. But by knowledge, it is established. What is knowledge? What you put in. So it's not enough that God blessed you with wisdom. It can't stop there. You need knowledge. How to use this wisdom. How to apply it. Look at other people's mistakes. Look at what they did. You must be willing. You are in the education sector. It's painful that some people have been with us for 7 years and you still have an OND. You still have an NCE. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. What's happening? Why can't you get a PhD? Why can't you get a PhD? If we keep making excuses, finance, you will never advance in life. Some people have joined us for long, and your promotion is being stalled. It's crawling because of the degree you have. That's the truth. You might be better than others, but because you don't have the qualification they have, there are certain places you cannot go to. There are certain places we cannot post you to. So you must be willing to work on yourself, improve yourself. Luckily, there are so many online programs now, so many. If you have NC, okay, you have problem. Why don't you get this? Is it Udemy? I mean, what they call it? Udemy. Am I pronouncing correct? Udemy. They have some cheap courses, even 2,000 naira. I've seen there was also a big bonanza to 2,000 naira. For a whole month, you pay. Child psychology. It's just that I didn't have the time. I wanted to subscribe and do it. You have Android phone. What are you using to Snapchat? Develop yourself. When you subscribe to us, it's cheap. Subscribe to it. Sit down in the evening. Luckily, it's at your convenience. You will see that thing you think you know. Someone will make you learn that thing, and you will learn something else. So don't be satisfied. Don't be a local champion. Try and improve yourself. Deliberately see potential in every child. That's our key here. If you look at the child and say this is lost case, then there's no need, just resign and go. But if you know you want to work here, then believe that there's something in that child, and there's something that you can do for that child. Forgive me, I have to go a bit to the scriptures to reinforce what I'm talking about. Because God sees the same thing in you. God sees potential in each of us, even the madman of glory. That's why He gives him a life. God sees something in each of us and commands you, fear not. Rather, He says, have faith. Faith is great. Faith is great. That you're seeing it, you've been, let me just use this, you've been married for how many years, you don't have a child, and you're I'm a mother of nations. I'm a mother of nations. That's great. That's what it is. And yet we proclaim, I'm a Christian, I have faith, but yet you see a child and you lack it. In fact, if there's anything worse than zero faith, that's what you have. God says, and you should believe you can do all things. Who knows that scripture? He said, I can do all things. It is a song. It said, all things. All. And that's why you're here, because we believe in you that you can do it. If you cannot, it won't employ you. Don't settle for average. Head for the top. Because it is possible. My class, well, this time around, like there was an exam and the children didn't do so. Said, that's how this set is. That's how this set is. That's so demoralizing. That's how this set is. So you have already written them up. That's how this set is. No, now. When you notice in the first time that is how this set is, you will say this set, you cannot remain like this. And yes, it is your business that child succeeds. Some people will say, well, it's not my business. It's not my child. It is what is my concern. I've tried my best. But you forget that you too will have children. And somebody will teach them. And somebody will say, it's not my business. What goes around? Proverbs 22:29 says, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. It's just telling you, you need to believe and work towards what you believe. Set the stage and see your learners break barriers. Grit starts with you. Thank you.
Okay, that was a wonderful one. Please, I don't know if you're going to send this fast to the platform so that we can have this thing on our phone. All right, is there any question? Does anybody have any question? Does anybody have any question concerning what we just heard? Any question? Okay, the absence of. Okay, you have a question, all right.
Maybe 26 months. We are talking about it. It starts with us, the teachers. And then the failure, the parents and the children, I suppose, they are going to share blame as well. How do we work on the grit of the parents since they are also factors? Thank you.
Okay, like I said when I started, my job is to build grit in you. The grit in your children, your supervisors will come in with their arsenal to arm you with that, and I believe they did a good job at searching for that. Then for the parents, yes, because like we said, external factor, environment, but there's certain environments, even in experiment, they have no control over. What do? You mitigate it. You try to bridge the gap, and that's why we have class parents, form teachers who act as parents, and that's why we say win their confidence. I love it when I see situations where children come to you as a form teacher and tell you things they can never tell their parents. It means you're a very successful parent. Even without your children, you are very successful. That's where you should be aiming to, so that we can preach. Because, like I said sometimes, some people have no business being parents. But God has blessed them, it's their luck. But we shouldn't let those children go to waste. God has put us in their lives to bridge that gap. So that's the much we can do. We call, not only one of us, we call, we text, we do it. Some people promise you they'll do heaven and earth and nothing happens. But we can't live with children like that. We look for other ways.
All right, any questions on here?
This topic is obviously talking to me actually, because my son, if you don't have, my first son, if you don't have this grit, by now you have actually given up. So what I'm asking now is, when you have this grit, when I mean you have this grit, you are so energized to see him succeed, and along the line, you are weak. As you've put in your best and you are like going like a long time, you are there for him, teaching him, following up the teachers, even the psychologists, doing your best as a parent. As in, when you are discouraged, how do you pick yourself up? That's my question.
You know the Bible says long suffering worketh patience. And patience worketh, Bible students, perseverance. I'm not saying there won't be situations that seem impossible. I'm not saying so. There are some you try and try, but like Jack Ma, I tried it this way, it didn't work. Can I try it another way? Can I try it another way? While you're feeling tired, try to channel your mind that I will be tired about this particular part, not about the person. It's deliberate. You have to work on your mind. Say, okay, I've been trying this and it's not working. Search, research, and check. Ask questions, talk to people, and try another way. Sometimes it's good to lean back and relax a bit. Because when you're tensed, you can't achieve much. When your mind, when your emotions are all high, you cannot. So just, if possible, take a break. Take a break. Then after a while, you come back to it. But have it at the back of your mind that it's your responsibility. So those times will come, but it's a thing of the mind. You will decide that, oh, that I need to work on this and try something else. Like I said, don't ever think it's all this. When you think it's all done, that's when you'll be like. So, of course, when you go online and say, I've tried this, but there'll always be something new. There'll always be something new.
All right, next class.
I have a question.
I have a question.
It's almost similar to what Mr. Chisom. It's in two facets. The first is there are some parents that, by virtue of their work, they have little or no time for their children at home. And I have students who they open up a lot to me, a whole lot, yes, tell me things. And I've come to discover, let me cite one of them, I won't call it. Their problem is actually not within them, it is external. Sometimes they don't go for the distraction comes to them. So,
Can you give an example?
for instance, a student has opened up to you his or her weaknesses, and then now the student has decided to do better academically. Now the student has decided to take your instructions, your advice and everything to go back home and work on them. But while at home, they are friends. Even if they decide not to go to meet their friends come to them in the house. And because their parents have little or no time for them, they are easily influenced and they leave that academic work and follow them. So my question is, what's the possible way we can, as it were, impact this idea to resilience, to not follow these distractions even when it comes to looking for them? That's the first. And then the second, what are the possible ways we can partner with parents to see how the grit, the work we are doing in school can be sustained in the house? Thank you.
Okay, the first one, you'll be a pastor. Mr. Stephen Abi, is it every Sunday they preach that they repent? No. You keep preaching. What do you do? And you know, peculiar to college, the only thing you can do is talk. That's the only thing that works there. And now you need to, re-strategize, because one thing with teenagers is that if you talk, at the point they keep away from you, is enough. So you need to now think of other strategies to reach them. Still in talking, but maybe not the same way. If it was before, you send for them, they come to you. You send for them, they come to you. At the point, they will avoid you. So instead you change. Maybe I've been calling you, this time I come to you. This time I even take you. Let's go to the lab. Let me teach you one or two things. I want to offer my time. While I'm offering my time, I'm talking to you. Because you must appeal to them. That's how teenagers work. You must appeal to them. When you appeal to them, what you say, it sinks and it goes far. But when you don't appeal to them, they say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, and they are off. So you won't give up. Just you have to try other strategies. And one thing I've learned in life is that when you're advising the person and you really want results, you must put yourself in that person's shoes to appreciate the situation. So you must go back to when you were 18. Put your mind back when you were a teenager. And when you were their age, what worked? That's the first thing. What worked? Put yourself in their shoes. Assume that is you are the one living that situation. What would somebody tell you? What will somebody do for you that will sink and change your behavior? So you do the work of the pastor. For that of the parents, like I said, there's nothing much you can. We can't flog them. We can't be. There's some we invite, they will never come. It's only when you pass on your head they'll show up. So we can't. There's a limit to what we can do, and that's how we say the form teacher becomes a class parent. So where you're harsh to the children in your class, you won't get much. Where how would I put it? You use Mr. Isaac, the person always talks down on the children. You won't get much. If you think that's a way to motivate, our parents used to do that when we were growing up. Say, look at you, look at Akechi, look at you. No. Psychology has taught us that is counterproductive. Comparing people is counterproductive. Don't compare, but rather encourage. Don't worry, when your supervisors come on board, there are some of these things they'll take them off.
Can we please put our hands together for